Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today is Monday, therefore we are doing another spread in my sketchbook. So I believe last week I actually did this spread of Wonu in my sketchbook, and I primarily wanted to focus on using two different colors that my friend gave me, but I usually like using a pink and a blue together because I think they match pretty well, but also carrot colors are very attractive to me, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a few spreads with more pink and blue combinations. So the combinations that I do have are swatched right here. I have 2 pink markers and 3 bluish kind of markers that I have from the Tombow water-based dual-ended whatever set it's called, but basically it's like the pastel colors that it comes with. As for the line work, I'm going to be using the Uniball Vision needle in the size micro rather than fine, and it is the blue one. So usually when I do these sessions, especially if I'm filming in my sketchbook, I don't like recording my sketching portion just because the red just doesn't really appear too nicely on the camera unless I'm zoomed in quite a bit. But this time, because we're going to be doing multiple spreads, I thought it would be easier for me to film all the sketching, then all the coloring, and then all of the line work kind of in that kind of sequential order, just because I thought it'd be a little bit easier for myself and probably easier for you guys to view rather than me switching from sketch color line, sketch color line, sketch color line. It's just much more easier probably to view this way. So the first spread I did is of just Wonu, and then this one I'm doing of Jonghan from 17, and then the last one is going to be kind of a mixture of D8 and June, which is considered the China line of 17. So I'm just going to be sketching with the Pilot Color Eno in the color red, and it kind of gives me a nice base before we actually have to add in any flat coloring and then any detailing with the Uniball Vision needle. So the reason why I'm using the dark blue rather than black is one, because it's a little bit less jarring, and this needlepoint pen dispenses a heck of a lot of ink, so it's going to provide a lot of ghosting. So black was kind of like a color I didn't want to use, and the blue has still like a lot of ghosting, but it's just not as dark as the black one, so I thought it would be a little bit more appropriate. But also the blue just looks nice with the blue and the pink together, and I think it's just another nice color that I can kind of add to the color palette. So the last spread I'm working on, like I said, is China line, which is June and D8 from 17, and all the sketches are based off of photos or screenshots and things that happened during their Follow tour concert that they had in Seoul. So they had 2 days for the concert, so I mostly drew stuff from the second day. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to actually do some digital drawings, because there's so many cute looks and just a lot of pops of colors and outfits that I really want to draw the members in. But today, because we're focusing more on the pinks and blues, I kind of chose ones that had more of a softer look for the most part, minus D8 where he has kind of that intense hands over his face kind of look. But for the most part, chose ones that had a lighter outfit or things that could translate nicely with these colors. So like I said, because I'm working with basically only 2 colors for the coloring portion, I am going to kind of delegate certain areas to be whatever color. So like I said, I'm using more of a lighter outfits for each of the members, but anything that's remotely white, I'm most likely going to be shading it in with the blue. Most of the skin tone's going to be done with the pink, just because I find that warmer colors tend to fit that a little bit better. And then the majority of the members actually have also darker hair, which means that I most likely will color it in blue, but the line work will provide the majority of the shading and the intensity that probably would be if they had black hair. So after I pretty much will finish this spread, we're gonna kind of move along to different color combinations. So the one that you're currently seeing is actually the one that I usually use whenever I pull out these markers, because I usually pick the cooler blue and kind of the warmer pink because I think they look kind of cute together, and this pink is more or less looks peachier on camera. So in person, it's kind of almost a slightly lighter, peachier version of like a bubblegum pink. It's not as bright, but it is a little bit warmer than like a cool pink, if that makes sense. You probably understand once you see the other pink that I have, and probably for the last spread. My brain's like super fried right now because I filmed 2 videos back to back and I'm forgetting what I was supposed to say in each of them. But for this spread, I decided to use the color combination that my friend recommended and the ones that she kind of gave the markers for, which is the similar kind of more lighter toned pink, and then this more softer, more muted, warmer blue compared to the more cyan looking blue that I had in the first spread. So this one is of Jonghan, and his hair is also black, so I'm coloring in the hair with the blue so that later on when you see that I add the dark blue via the lines, it's gonna match a little bit better. And then he had lighter clothing and kind of more like yellow pants, so I decided to make that more of the pink color, and then the white shirts and everything would be more or less with the blue, just because I wanted to add some kind of shading to the shirts and stuff, but I want to make sure that the skin and the shirts are separate, because if I end up shading the skin with a certain color and then shading the shirts with the same color with no differentiation between the two, it might look like it's all skin or it's all clothing, which I don't really want. So for the last spread, I'm choosing my most darkest colors and the most vibrant and saturated colors. So we have this really intense looking blue and kind of this darker pink. Now the pink doesn't show up as well on the camera as similar to like my lighter pink that I had initially, and it reads a little bit more warmer. Now I have my sketchbook in front of me, and I can tell you that the pink feels more almost fluorescent. I think if you watched my previous sketchbook doodles video or sketchbook video from I think maybe 2 weeks ago where I drew March, I'm pretty sure I used probably these colors or something similar for her sketches, and the pink on there I think is a little bit more accurate. It's just very cool toned, almost that highlightery pink color, so what you're seeing on camera is not gonna really feel, I don't know how I feel about it, because my camera does make everything kind of a little bit more warmer and saturated in that way, but in person everything in my sketchbook feels a little bit cooler. So it's not too off in terms of matching the colors together, because I guess if my camera is making everything warm, at least it's not like making something warm and something cooler, so it doesn't make things look too off visually. So hopefully it's not too bad. I'm not sure if I'm gonna remember to take a photo. Maybe I'll do it right now while the footage is going. I'll take a photo so that you guys can see the actual color, and hopefully my phone can capture it a little bit better than my webcam. Not too sure if it will, but I'll put it in if I can. Okay, so now that we finished doing the base colors and the sketch, I am moving on to the Uniball Vision needle in the size micro, and we are going to basically do line work and detailing. So this is kind of my favorite part, and the reason being is that I like doing line work afterwards anyways. Like I said, it tends to be the reason that I don't feel like making my sketches seem like a coloring book. So I don't want to fill in shapes and stuff for colors and flats usually. My preference is that usually I'll fill in my colors in my sketch first, and then whatever I want to do for the lines will just be dictated by my mood. So for Wanu's spread, I spent a lot of time making sure things looked correct. I put in a lot more effort for the values and sectioning things off to the point where I had some darker areas that were more flat and kind of filled in, and then some areas were a little bit more cross-hatchy, and then some areas I just made sure to have more varied line weight. I just spent a lot more care on his spread compared to the rest. And I'll get into that a little bit later as well once we work on Jonghan's spread, just because the ghosting does play a little bit of a part to this. But for the most part, I think because the colors for this particular spread is a lot lighter compared to the rest, I wanted to put a lot more contrast, because I feel like I didn't have to worry about the colors competing too much. So I wanted to put as much detail into the line work just because the colors are so subtle. But for some other ones, I feel like I could have just left it a little bit more simple and just outline things if I wanted to, because the colors feel really poppy and I don't really need the line art to stand out too much. At least that's like kind of my preference. Right here you can see I'm really trying to make things a lot darker. I decided to also fill in the background just a tiny bit near the bubbles, just because I wanted them to be kind of like in a darker space, but I didn't want to fill in the whole space with something because it would have taken a long time, and also the ghosting on this page would have bled through a little bit more onto the other page, which is what I don't really want. Also, this Wonu in the corner, so the one that I'm currently working on, is my least favorite. I decided to not pull up the references that I had when I was sketching them for the coloring and the line art kind of detailing phase. So I actually don't remember if this one was supposed to have glasses. I just threw them in last minute, so I don't know if it was supposed to, because it might have been from day one rather than day two. But day two looked really cute because he had his hair kind of wavy and textured and parted in a certain way, and then he had really cute his brown glasses. So yeah. Just fixing up the eyes a little bit because they got a little bit wonky just because of the angle that I was drawing them in. I also forgot to fill in the rest of his nose, so he's kind of noseless at the moment. And then after that we can move on to the Jonghan spread, which had more of the pale pink and the warmer blue. So like I said, I didn't pull up the references for the remaining portion of the lines, so I don't really remember if this even looks remotely like how he did in the reference, just because I didn't follow the hairlines or anything. I also forgot that his in-ear buds kind of things that are hanging across or below his shoulders were not in his ears, and I colored them in anyways, so it kind of looks a little funny. I think my favorite from the Jonghan spread probably is the one on the very left, just because it just looks a lot cuter, and this one looks more like Wonu because I squinted his eyes a little bit more, because Jonghan had more of a like cheeky little, I don't know, like snarky kind of face, but I just squinted his eyes a little bit because he was kind of more smiling. But I tend to draw Wonu with more of squintier eyes compared to Jonghan, so it doesn't really look like him. But for the most part, I think none of these sketches, other than potentially the one on the left, resembles him in any which way. I think it depends also on how you stylize the members, because there are 13 of them. I know some people shorthand a lot of the members, so yeah. I just feel like I didn't do justice for the most part for any of them. I just had a lot of fun playing around with the colors and then playing around with the intensity of this kind of darker blue for the lines and just extra shading. I also had fun doing Minghao's hair, or D8's hair. And when I meant hair, I meant hands. I had fun with his hands for the most part. I just think it's fun because he does have colored nail polish on his fingers and it's very apparent. So I just colored them in all dark rather than leaving some difference, because I believe he has like red nails rather than like black nails. But I just colored them in black because I thought it would be a little bit easier for me to figure it out when I was actually doing the shapes. So yeah, for this spread, we have the one that I'm working on is June. And then any of the longer haired and darker haired doodles is of D8 or Minghao. So I just thought it would be easier. I was gonna do 6 spreads and do 6 individual members or 6 spreads of Wonu, but I got very burnt out, and whenever I work traditionally, especially more recently because I haven't been stretching my hand too much, I feel like I'm getting like the carpal tunnel kind of feeling. And it might be because I was working on stuff digitally for so long that when I come back to traditional, I feel like my deft grip is kind of back. So hopefully once I get more used to just drawing in my sketchbook a little bit more, I'll kind of stretch my hand a little bit more so that I don't get into that point again. Also, I forgot to mention this at the very end by showing you guys, but because I'm finished with the rest of the sketches and stuff, also his hand's not backwards, by the way. He does have his other hand kind of like reaching across in a certain way, or not reaching across, it's like right in front of him, so it's like it looks like a awkward hand for the bottom left one. But yeah, so these are the doodles from the 5 markers that we had today. I only did 3 different combinations of pinks and blues. I'll do a quick run through. But while that is happening, we are actually at halfway. So halfway of the sketchbook is literally the spread after this one. And I am still debating on what I want to do, because sometimes I just write halfway in text alongside with like the spread, or sometimes I do like an illustration. So I'm gonna see what I will do for this kind of middle spread. And I'm actually surprised I'm actually getting through the sketchbook a little bit quicker than before. I feel like I just had a lot more things to draw recently. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video next week. Bye!